Hi everybody, John here, and today we're working on a 2007 Cadillac Escalade with the 6.2 liter engine. And the problem we were getting a check engine light on the dashboard, little engine symbol lit up, and the code that we read was the P0455, which is for a fuel evaporative solenoid being defective, or it could be a wiring issue to the solenoid, or it could be a fuse that provides the power. So we're going to take a look at that, and I'm going to show you what went wrong, which is way out of the ordinary. This isn't about replacing the solenoid, so hang on and let's get under the car and take a look. We're going to start from here. So this is the back driver side of the vehicle, back rear tire. We're crawling under here. We've taken the spare tire out of the cradle here, and that's up where the solenoid is. So you can see the shock absorber here on the rear tire on the driver's side. So we follow up the frame here, and right here, basically in the middle of the car, is where the solenoid is, right next to where the tire gets sucked up and with the cable here. So what we've done is taken off the solenoid. There's a connector over here. I've already released it, but you can see how it works. You pinch it and it will be released from the little catch on the side of the nipple here. You can see that catch right there. So that one, if you follow it around over here, it will go all the way up to the inlet for the fuel, right into that galley up there. And then the other side has a very hard hose, and if you follow it up towards the front of the engine here, you'll see that it connects to, so we're right above the rear differential of the vehicle, and that is where the charcoal canister resides, right here, this box. And right there is where the hose connects. You can see where it connects. That I'll show you how that was removed off of that inlet nipple right there. All right, here's that hose, and you can see right there is a spot that you push. When you push that with your hands, you can see in there that it releases the catch on both sides. And so that's how you get that hose off. Now let's go back and look at that electrical connector. Alright, so right there you see the electrical connector that's connected to the solenoid. And I'll show you how that was disconnected. You can see what it looks like here, and you just pull this tab out with your thumb and it will disconnect. And you can see there's two connectors that go into that. One of them being a constant 12 volts, and if you don't see that 12 volts, you would go back to the fuse box up front under the hood, fuse number 14. I think it's TPP will be what's driving this 12 volts out here. The other one is called the control signal, and it's actually a white electric conductor here. The one with constant power is red with a white stripe, or orange with a white stripe. So in this case, what we had was we measured from the orange wire here, that conductor to ground. We scratched a ground up here on the frame, and we saw 12 volts. So we knew that wasn't the problem, but when we go to the control side, the engine control module or the powertrain control module will ground the white wire when it wants to close the solenoid right here, and that was not happening. And so what happened was that this white wire does not go all the way to the PCM or the powertrain control module or the engine control module, whichever you like to call it. And that's because the wire had a break in it somewhere. So let's go back to the front of the engine and take a look at where that white wire goes so that we can figure out how to troubleshoot it. First of all, I was going to want to say that a lot of these times the solenoids are fine. We get a lot of dirt into this system here because coming from the little vent pipe, which is up here behind your tire, up there where the fuel inlet is, it still gets a lot of dust up in there, and that gets into this hose and it gets into this canister. So in this case, I did dump a lot of dirt out of this canister and ran a lot of water back and forth through these hoses, through here and out this little nipple right here to clean all the dirt and everything out. And we did take this solenoid and test it, and we'll just do that real quick as well. So let's go do that first. To get this out, you can see it's sitting on a little bar here, and you just have to push this tab right here up with I used a screwdriver, and then this whole unit slides right off of that, and you can see what it looks like. Right there you can see where it slides in. So just catches right here on the edge with that little hook to hold it in place. Very easy to take out. Okay, so we're up at the hood of the vehicle, and we're going to take these couple of these little wires I've got. I took them out of a computer, some old computer I tortured to death. We're going to connect them to these two little wires inside, the two little conductors inside of this solenoid connector here. Okay, we've got them connected, and then we've got the two wires right here, so we're going to connect those to the battery. Okay, we've got one lead going to positive, and I'm going to touch that to the battery over here, and the other one right here is going off to the negative terminal of the battery. And so you should hear this click. So you know it's working when you hear the click. The other test is if you blow into it without it connected to the battery, you'll be able to blow air straight through it and out the other end. Once you connect it to the battery and try to blow in this hose over here on this side, you will not be able to get any air through it. So that's how you test these. And if you want to check the ohms of it, I was reading about 20.2 ohms between these two conductors. It's just a solenoid. That's just a loop of copper wire that is like looks kind of like an inductor. So that's what it's doing. So anyway, now let's move over and take a look at that where that white wire, the control wire, goes to make this energize. Okay, just to give you a frame of reference here, we are on the driver's side, front of the vehicle. We come down here, here's the windshield washer fluid, and this is where batteries used to be on earlier models. And right below that is this ECM or powertrain control module, engine control module, whatever you want to call it. So this has two cables coming into it. There's the bottom cable here and the top cable. So we've taken the top cable off right here, and just you can see how those go. There's a lever that tightens them in very nicely, and then you just push the lever back to get them off. And I have taken the outer cover off of these so that you can see the exposed wires. And it's actually this top cable connector, and it's actually called pin 61. Okay, so that wire, that white wire follows this from the connector to the engine control module. It goes on up this cable to the top of the engine and out this strand of wires down the top of the transmission, and comes back over to the frame on the driver's side right about here, and I'll show you where that connector is. Okay, so here we are behind the front wheel on the driver's side, and you can see part of the frame here, the transfer case. So we're right here, emergency brake cable, and you can see giant wire loom right here, and right there is some wires coming out of it. So that is the group of wires from the back of the car, the back of the vehicle. The white wire is in here. Probably that red and white one is as well. I didn't look for it because it was working. But anyway, right here is where the wires come out from the back of the vehicle and follow this, and then they go up and over to the transmission. So way up here on the top of the frame here, up here on the top side of this frame is where there's another connector. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, now we're a little closer to the transfer case here and the front drive line right here, and there's the wire loom that's connected up in here right next to a couple fuel lines. And if you pull this out, which I've already disconnected it, but you can see that it's got a connector right here that goes in that hole of the frame, and so I took it out of there so that I could get at it. And this has a it just connects right here. Inside of it you can see some of the pins inside. So it's the white cable, and sure enough right there is the white cable that we're looking for. So so this goes on up. You can see it right there. It's just going right on up above the transfer case and the transmission to the top of the engine. The other side, let's take a look at that now, where the other end of this connector is. So for that one, I had to disconnect a little connector right up there. You can see that, and pull this wire out, and there is the other end of it. And right inside of that was a broken wire. Strange. Not sure how that nick could have happened, but at any rate, we've tested from this nick to the connector on the solenoid, and we have continuity. And so the other end of this we've tested, and that goes through this connector, actually through this one we've tested it, and it goes back to the engine control module directly. So that's where the problem was. So hopefully that helps you guys. It's kind of a weird place, but at any rate you kind of know where to take a quick look, and hopefully you'll find something. I wanted to show you how I tested the wire continuity. You can see I've got a safety pin connected in the back side of that white wire, and on the other side I put another safety pin into the right connector hole here, and then we set our meter up here on the noise for ohms, and to verify that we have continuity. So 0.6 ohms, 0.5 ohms. But now we have continuity, so we know where the conductor is in the cable here, and now we'll go back to the other side of the white wire at the back of the vehicle, or underneath the vehicle, and verify we have continuity to that first connector. Okay, here we are under the vehicle, right next to the transfer case there. And there is the plug that goes back to the front of the engine, where we've got the other end of the multimeter connected, and I have connected to the white wire that you can see right there. So, and now I will go back to my meter right here, and I've got my meter set on ohms, 0.6 ohms. If I turn it to the noise, you can see we've got continuity. So we've tested to that connector, and I've also tested from the broken wire on this one to all the way back to the solenoid, and I have continuity. So as soon as we repair that broken wire, we will have the problem solved. So that gives you an idea of how you might test it. Other ways, they say, are just to ground out that wire at the front of the engine where I showed it to you, and go all the way back to the solenoid and see if you have ground. Again, you would set your meter on ohms and see that you have very little resistance. Okay, we were talking about that fuse for the power wire, which was orange and white stripe. So here we are in the front of the engine. See the alternator there. So we're looking for fuse 14. So let's zoom in a little bit. There it is. TCM battery, 10 amps right there. So if we look over here, fuse 14 right there. And so let's look over here. 10 amps right there, that red one. So that's the one that supplies power to that solenoid back there, and hopefully that doesn't go out, because if it does, then you'll probably have that wire shorted out somewhere to ground. Okay, good to know.